Welcome to Complete Aviation Solutions Deep Dive number 102. Today, we're really cutting through the noise to bring you the most impactful developments shaping regional aviation around the globe.
That's right.
We've sifted through, a stack of recent industry announcements, operational updates, and our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear.
Yep, we want to arm you with the crucial knowledge about how airlines are adapting.
Exactly. From redefining luxury travel and regional jets to making some pretty hard strategic calls about their fleets.
And these aren't just, technical details buried in reports. These are moves that fundamentally reshape your travel options, your experiences.
You'll see how these shifts are expanding connectivity in some, unexpected ways and influencing the reliability of your next flight.
It's all about the evolving skies, really, and we're here to unpack what stands out in these reports.
Okay, let's dive right in then. Because first up, we're seeing a truly fascinating pivot. It's towards high-end experiences, even in regional air travel.
Yeah, and what's really striking here is how two very different carriers, one serving the islands of French Polynesia, beautiful place, and another aiming to transform regional travel across the U.S. They're both using the same new cabin interior collection for their regional aircraft.
But for very different reasons, right? Different strategies.
Exactly. Completely different strategic goals.
Okay, let's take that French Polynesian example first. It sounds quite something. We learned their main inter-island carrier is launching this unique VIP service.
Yes, starting the second half of 2026.
And it's not just new seats. It sounds like a complete reimagining of the regional flight.
It really is. They're dedicating one of their 4 new regional jets, specifically a 72-600 model entirely, to an all-business class cabin.
An all-business regional jet. Wow.
Yeah.
So what does that VIP setup actually, look like inside?
Well, it's designed for a genuinely executive feel. Think an open executive-style ceiling makes it feel more spacious.
Okay.
And just 26 individual business class seats. The configuration is 1x1, super generous.
1 by 1, so
Yep.
every single passenger gets.
Direct aisle and direct window access, yes.
That's almost unheard of for regional hops, isn't it? Especially flights between places like Bora Bora and Raiatea.
Absolutely. And they say the aim is to reflect the beauty and spirit of the islands right there in the cabin. It makes sense for that market.
And the seats themselves? What are the specs like?
They sound incredibly comfortable. We're talking 21.6 inches wide, a really luxurious 39 inches of legroom,
Wow.
plus a deep 7-inch recline, a personal side console, proper stowage, and of course, USB-A plus C ports. Everything you'd expect, really.
So what's the bigger picture here? Is this just catering to, the super rich flying between islands, or is it signaling something broader?
Well, it's definitely high-end, but it's not just luxury for luxury's sake. The real aha moment, I think, is how airlines are using this hyper-specific cabin design,
Right.
down to the seat dimensions, the recline, to unlock completely new revenue streams and attract different passenger segments.
So using the cabin to make money in new ways.
Precisely. This cabin collection is positioned perfectly to capture that growing demand for premium travel. And it offers both comfort and the efficiency of low-emission regional jets.
Okay, so it's sufficient luxury.
Kind of, yeah. It's a textbook case of how even smaller aircraft can become profit centers if you rethink the customer experience. And it's not isolated. You mentioned another carrier.
Yeah, they mentioned this airline joins one from Malaysia in picking the same high-end interior, so it does seem like a trend.
Definitely points to a broader, maybe global shift.
Okay, and then this is where it gets really interesting for me. A public charter air carrier based in Texas. They're also getting on board with this type of aircraft. Specifically, 2 42-600 models, smaller ones, starting late 2025.
Okay.
Now, their goal is quite different from inter-island luxury hopping.
Yes, exactly. Their focus is expanding what they're calling hop-on service.
Hop-on service. What does that entail?
It means reaching more private terminals, FBOs, fixed base operators.
Right, the executive terminals.
Exactly. And also airports that were previously underserved right across the U.S. It's kind of about democratizing access to that private-style flying, but without the huge private jet price tag.
Okay, that's a neat angle. And they're using the same cabin collection.
They are, but tailored for their market. So 30 premium seats, still business class legroom apparently.
30 seats, okay.
Complimentary cocktails, gourmet snacks, the whole package. And they even plan to get high-speed internet certified and installed Starlink specifically.
Starlink on a regional jet? That would be a huge draw. Reliable Wi-Fi, especially on regional routes, is still pretty rare.
It really is a game changer for business travelers or anyone needing to stay connected.
And the CEO made a point about access, too, didn't they?
Yeah, highlighted that these planes will bring over 1,000 new airports within reach, many of them previously only accessible to private flyers.
Wow, over 1,000. That's a significant expansion of connectivity for people who aren't, flying private.
Absolutely, a big potential impact.
So, okay, we've seen how cabin design is opening up these new market segments. Premium leisure, accessible hop-on services.
Right. But these passenger-facing things, these innovations, they don't happen in a vacuum, do they?
No, definitely not.
They're often enabled, or sometimes even forced, by these big strategic decisions airlines make behind the scenes about their assets, their fleets.
Which brings us nicely to our next theme, fleet management and operational independence. How airlines are navigating some pretty complex stuff.
Exactly. Let's shift gears a bit.
Okay, moving from that premium comfort side, let's dive into the more structural side of aviation, how airlines are managing their assets, their operational control. And we got two examples from Europe showing very different strategies here.
That's right. Polar opposites, almost, but both very strategic. First, there's a European national carrier based in Romania. They recently made headlines with a key step in their restructuring.
Restructuring, okay. What did they do?
They sold their 50% stake in a fueling services company, sold it to a major international fuel provider.
Divesting non-core businesses. Classic restructuring move.
Exactly. It's a significant part of their strategy to streamline, focus on the core airline business, and just, improve financial health.
And financially, there was other movement too, government involvement.
Yes. Their Ministry of Transport increased the airline's share capital about $6.7 million end of 2024. This raised the government stake to 98%.
98%. Wow. So what does that signal? A government increasing its stake so much while the airline is selling off assets?
Well, it generally shows a strong commitment from the government to stabilize the airline, recapitalize it, especially during restructuring.
Keeping the national carrier afloat.
Pretty much. Ensuring it remains viable, maintaining essential connectivity. And interestingly, there's also mention of a state-owned postal operator expressing interest in acquiring the airline.
The Postal Service.
Yeah.
That's unexpected. Could really change things for them.
It certainly could. A significant potential development for their future structure and strategy. It's all about finding that right balance of control, efficiency, funding.
Okay, so while they're sorting out the finances and assets, what about their actual flying, your fleet strategy right now?
Well, that's also notable. They've been actively wet leasing an A320-200 from another airline since early June, specifically for the 2025 summer season.
Wet leasing. Can you remind us what that involves exactly?
Sure. Wet leasing means the airline providing the plane also provides the crew, the maintenance, and the insurance. It's often called ACMI capacity.
Right, the whole package deal.
Exactly. It's usually a short-term fix for airlines needing extra capacity quickly without the long-term headache of owning or dry leasing.
So for this Romanian carrier, it's about flexibility during restructuring.
Precisely. It lets them meet summer demand, especially since their restructuring plan actually stops them from growing their own fleet or expanding their route network until the end of 2026.
So they're restricted. Wet leasing is a workaround.
It fills a gap. This particular A320 seats 180 all economy, has been busy on routes to big hubs like Amsterdam and Frankfurt, clearly meeting a critical need.
Makes perfect sense for their situation right now. But as you said, contrasting strategies, there's another carrier in Turkey doing the opposite.
Exactly. A major low-cost carrier based in Turkey is actively moving away from wet leasing. Completely different approach.
So instead of short-term flexibility, they're going for
longer-term commitment and control. They've signed agreements to dry lease 14 A321-200Ns, deliveries starting 2026-2027.
dry leasing. So they get the plane, but handle crew, maintenance, insurance themselves.
That's it. And the reason? It's a direct response to problems they had.
Problems with wet leasing.
Yeah, technical and maintenance issues with wet-leased aircraft throughout 2024. Sounds like it really caused them headaches, impacted operations.
So reliability issues push them towards more control.
Exactly. By dry leasing and growing their in-house fleet, they want to reduce that dependence on external ACMI capacity, gain better control, better reliability. It's a crucial strategic pivot.
Trading that short-term flex for long-term operational resilience, maybe passenger trust too.
I think that's definitely part of it.
So they're really taking back control, What does their current fleet look like, and what's the plan with aircraft operated by their parent?
Well, their own in-house fleet currently includes 5 A320-200s, 1 A320neo, 15 B737-800s, but there's another layer.
Okay.
Their parent airline still operates a huge number, 58 aircraft on their behalf, various A320s, B737s.
58. Wow, so the long-term goal is
To either integrate those aircraft into their own operation under their own control or just stop wet leasing them from the parent altogether.
get fully independent
Which
operationally.
seems to be the goal. Plus, they're also wet leasing another 13 jets from various other external airlines right now.
Okay, so that really underscores how much they're relying on outside capacity currently and why this push for in-house control is so important for them.
Absolutely. It highlights how that internal control, or lack of it, can directly translate into the kind of experience you get as a passenger. Reliability, punctuality, service quality, it's all linked.
Okay, so pulling it all together, what are we really seeing across these different stories? It feels like a really dynamic, shifting market.
It really is. On one side, you've got this clear push towards higher-end, more personalized experiences, even in regional travel.
Yeah, the premium cabins, the focus on comfort, those unique service models like the hop-on service.
And the expansion into new airports, often underserved ones, that's a big deal for accessibility.
Definitely. Opening up more options for you, the traveler. Maybe to places that were harder to reach before without driving or using private planes.
Right. It shows this rising demand from operators for better comfort, but also those low-emission solutions. Regional jets becoming platforms for a genuinely premium experience.
And then on the other side, you have these critical operational decisions being made.
Yeah, the nuts and bolts. Airlines selling off non-core assets to streamline, managing their capital carefully.
Strengthening the balance sheet.
Exactly. And making these really strategic choices about fleet control, wet lease versus dry lease, how to manage reliability.
These seem like really foundational moves, don't they? Things that dictate an airline's long-term health and its ability to actually serve its routes reliably.
Absolutely. And the contrast is stark, isn't it? One airline using short-term wet leasing because it has to during restructuring.
Right, for flexibility within constraints.
Versus another moving decisively to long-term dry leasing to gain independence because of past problems with wet leasing.
Shows the different challenges airlines face and the different solutions they choose.
Exactly. And ultimately, those decisions directly impact reliability, route expansion possibilities, and just the overall quality of the service you experience when you fly. It's a constant balancing act for them.
It really shows that whether it's about, the fancy seat you're sitting in or the complex financial and operational decisions happening behind the scenes, the aviation industry is constantly adapting, trying to deliver better service, broader connectivity, especially in that regional space.
Constantly evolving.
Okay, that brings us toward the end of Complete Aviation Solutions, Deep Dive number 102. We've explored how this new era of luxury seems to be emerging in regional travel.
Making even short hops feel a bit more exclusive.
Yeah. And also how major carriers are making these crucial, sometimes tough decisions about their fleets to ensure stability, growth, which directly impacts your travel.
It's really clear, I think, that the future of air travel is being shaped not just by, shiny new planes, but by these clever innovations in cabin design and by very deliberate strategic choices in fleet management.
Decisions made in boardrooms, but felt by passengers at the gate and in the air.
Precisely. They directly influence your options and your overall experience.
So what does this all mean for you listening? Maybe consider how these trends might open up new travel possibilities. Could you soon be flying premium regional for a weekend getaway?
Or will more efficient controlled fleet operations by airlines lead to totally new, reliable networks serving smaller towns and cities near you?
Yeah, will premium regional become the norm, blurring the lines with private flying? Or will operational efficiency pave the way for better access to underserved destinations?
Definitely something to ponder as you plan your next journey.
Absolutely. Keep thinking about it.
Until next time, keep exploring and questioning.